This is volume 4, and now it's Saturday, March 14th, 5:44. I just read volume 3. This is volume 4. In regards to root, God is freak. God is uncanny. God is mysterious. God is word behind the word. God is unknown. God is being. God is the ground of all being. God is us. And then I wrote this. And then I wrote, as God is, so does God do. Love, Dad. All right. And I wrote this March 11th at 2:04 p.m. 2026. Volume 2. Rizzle Foggy. And that's just a word I made up based on your use of the word Rizzo. A symbiotic process where plant roots cultivate, because that is what Rizzoology or whatever they call that. That's what, of course, that's what it is. A symbiotic process where plant roots cultivate. Bloom where you are planted means making the most of your current circumstances, thriving and finding joy regardless of your environment or challenges. The complete quote: bloom where you are planted and let your unique beauty and brilliance shine through. I started my reply to your Substack essay, Notes on Hyper-Absurdism, number 2, Language, God, and Creation, March 4th, 2026. With something. I started my reply after my first read with an approach based on the gestalt of your subject matter. My response was how I have and persist in countering the said implications of your subject matter. So, let me read that again. My response was how I have and persist in countering the said implications of your subject matter. Your subject matter has many roots into many matters, and my question has always been, in life and in death, what does it matter? And I say, well, it does matter. It matters to me, just like you and your family matter to me. That is why I write Arden even before she can read. Because what she feels, believes, and knows matters to me. It matters that I do what I can and what I must to ensure that when the storms of life I fear come, and they will come after me too, when I am dead and gone, I want her to know her grandfather has and had her back, that she can, upon my shoulders, also ride high. I ate and went to sleep after writing in the turquoise notebook, which was the last one I read. In the turquoise notebook, 3/11/26, from 12:40 a.m., when in my conclusion I addressed some of the particulars of what you said. I look at the whole and the particular, but I accent the heart of the matter. I lay down and had visions of everything from flowers to army boots on the ground and half men. That's when I first got up to write in the turquoise. When I finished the turquoise, I also finished baking lasagna, ate, and became, or I say, felt empty, having put Sally down. Expressing myself in ritual, my style, and by bloodletting, aka giving my plasma in exchange for money. My mind, my conscious mind, and my unconscious mind opened up to each other as my head was filled with things I was being told, things from all across the board, things from the field, quote unquote, because you made reference to the field in the beginning of your essay, that's where you preferred to be. And things from beyond. I was going to get up to get my phone and speak into it as they came, these thoughts that came when I was laying down sleeping, halfway sleeping. They were so profound to me that I wanted to speak them into my phone, but I never got up to get my phone. And if I did, I probably would quit having them anyway. But I said no. I don't trust voice to text. Anyway, and all things considered, I hoped I would just remember. I didn't remember the particulars, but I had the experience. I did get up, however, when I knew I had to in order to accomplish my goal of getting a laminate picture of Sally. I had to go to the print shop and I asked them to print Sally's picture on plastic lamination to make my flat of me and her. And I printed the song "Come On Strong," and I printed a picture of Sally, and and the song came on strong in my head. It's just a shout away. Okay, well, that's the way I knew it. It's just a shout away by the Rolling Stones, but it's actually just a shout away because I had to look it up. But anyway, it was what was playing in my head, and it comes from "Gimme Shelter," the Rolling Stones. Ooh, a storm is threatening in my very life today. If I don't get some shelter, I'm gonna fade away. War children, it's just a shot away. It's just a shot away. War children, it's just a shot away. It's just a shot away. Ooh, see the fires sweeping our streets today. Burns like a red coal carpet. Mad lost its way. Mad bull lost its way. War children is just a shot away. See, I always thought the song said it's just a shout away. Lots of laugh. But it doesn't really matter about those jot and tittles. It still woke me up as I knew it in my head and in my heart and beyond. I'm going now to get my transparency. It's just a shot away. Wednesday, March 11th, 4:06 p.m. I have returned. And I returned from getting my laminate, my laminate picture. But I got sidetracked when I said I have returned because of what popped into my head. So, it's a song. I have returned to the God of my fathers, the Lion of Judah, the Father of Abraham. This lesson I've learned as I climb my path homeward, the Savior of all is a comfort to man. My mom played this song, actually, I said a song, containing those words. Mary John Wilkins sang it. I can remember the sound of her voice and Mary John Wilkins' voice and my mom's voice too, as together I climbed with them, with their crescendo, or climbing, and into the climax of the summit. It was a powerful and triumphant, vicarious, effectual, and transformative experience for me in those early formative years. I recommend very strongly and beggingly insist you and Aileen offer Bamba Rose your Arden. Feed her spirituality in the radical. Feed her the manna from heaven. Just because so much of it can be reduced to the mere, quote unquote, M-E-R-E, this or that does not make it any less real. You/we can keep it real. The things of music and dreams and wonder take us to places in the heart. AI can't really know, not firsthand. Sure, AI can talk about it intellectually, but we blatantly assert AI is made for cyborg God. We humans are designed for a human God. The most ancient of proverbs has never been disproven. Train up a child in the way it should go, and when it's old, it will not depart. I have been forced beyond the gates of hell. Yet in my heart and mind, I have never forsaken my mother or my father, not in the spirit they bore or bear or gave me. My dad gave me analytics. My mom gave me heart. I am really more concerned with heart. I've said before that it came to me as a download from beyond that my dad was now studying with the Buddha. I can see him doing that, aggregating. And then I put in the 5 aggregates of the Buddha. Form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. For example, in the Maha Satipatthana Asut Baku Sujat, we learn mindfulness through form. Those words in India are really long. Okay, but I wrote them out. Mindfulness through form, Isaac. To be honest, 8 pages ago when I said I have returned, I really intended to say I have returned from the store. I had to get some plastic and white pearl coloring for Sally's flat. But when I said I have returned, that song my mom would play echoed loudly in or from my heart, so I went with it. Now I have returned to writing you. I did send you a video with my update on the progress I have made dealing with my loss of Sally, making my flat of her and I together, and continuing my assimilation of your work, your essay. The parts I read, what you sent me, is all I've read on Substack. The video I sent you says it was delivered, but it also says it is still uploading to iCloud. My synchronization was paused. I just now unpaused it. In that clip, I ended it in saying, I am addressing your topic, the problem at hand. I see your essay as addressing the problem at hand. And that is basically the implications of AI. So back to my return. On my way home, I heard someone on the radio remind me that the advent of AI and superintelligence is similar to when calculators came out. We didn't have calculators until I was in about 8th grade. And then there was a big uproar and fight about kids being allowed to use them, especially in school. Calculators sort of defeated the whole purpose learning math, because all you had to do is use a calculator. I remember that fight. It was a big one. But then they allowed it, and now it's commonplace. As Bob Dylan said and sang, the times are changing. It bears writing out, but I'm not going to. You know it. So the times are changing, and we can't resist change. What is worth me writing, though, is the story of the tree that taught time, okay? We are that tree. Or, yeah, it looks like true, but we are that tree. You and I, the human race, this story shines light on the spiritual crisis you've identified in your paper, and the fact that the way up is the way down. But in this crisis produced by fast answers that have not been worked for, and the vacancy it will leave in its wake, all of which you hammer home the feeling and experience of and need for something real, a sense and quest for enlightenment is going to increase with these new societal challenges. Anyway, this Buddha or Zen story goes like this. The tree that taught time. Deep in the mountains where mist danced between ancient peaks, a young monk arrived at his monastery burning with impatience. His heart raced with spiritual ambition, his mind churned with questions about enlightenment, and his entire being vibrated with urgent need to achieve something profound. He had read every sacred text, memorized countless teachings, and practiced meditation with fierce intensity. Yet, despite all his efforts, the peace he sought remained frustratingly elusive. Every morning, this eager seeker would approach his master with desperate question: when will I reach enlightenment? He would ask with his voice tight with barely contained frustration. I've been practicing for months now, with complete dedication, to follow every instruction, attend every teaching session, meditate for hours each day. Why do I still feel so far from understanding? The wise old abbot watched this young monk struggle with patient understanding. He had seen countless young seekers arrive with similar urgency, demanding immediate results from the spiritual path. The world had trained them to expect instant gratification, fast food, quick fixes, rapid transformations. But wisdom, the abbot knew followed a completely different timeline. Oh, okay. I spelled new N-E-W. It should have spelled K-N-E-W. Okay. I might try to remember to fix that. But wisdom, the abbot knew, followed a completely different timeline. One crisp morning, when the young monk's frustration had reached its peak, the abbot invited him to take a walk in the forest surrounding the monastery. They walked in contemplative silence until they reached a massive oak tree that stood like a cathedral pillar against the sky. Its trunk was so wide that 10 people holding hands couldn't encircle it, and its branches spread in all directions, providing shade and shelter to the countless creatures. The tree radiated an aura of stability and peace. Do you see this magnificent tree? The abbot asked, placing his weathered hand against the deeply grooved bark. Tell me, how long do you think it took to grow to this size and strength? The young monk studied the enormous oak, taking in its enormous height and breadth. I suppose it must have taken many decades, perhaps even a century or more, he replied. But he didn't understand what this had to do with his spiritual question. The abbot nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, this tree has been growing for over 200 years. It began as a tiny acorn, no bigger than your thumb. Year by year, season by season, it extended its roots deeper into the earth and stretched its branches higher toward the sky. It weathered countless storms, endured years of drought, and persevered through harsh winters when growth seemed impossible. But here's what's remarkable. The abbot continued, his voice carrying the weight of deep understanding. This tree never grew frantically. It never pushed itself to grow faster than its natural rhythm. It simply remained present each moment, drawing nourishment from the soil, reaching toward the light, responding to the changing seasons with perfect patience. Its strength comes precisely from its unhurried, steady growth. The abbot gestured for the young monk to sit beneath the tree's canopy. Your spiritual journey is exactly like this tree's growth, he explained gently. Enlightenment cannot be forced or hurried. It unfolds naturally when we provide the right condition, regular practice, patient persistence, and acceptance of our current stage of development. The more you grab after quick results, the more you disturb the natural process of awakening. I remember when I was a kid trying to stretch myself up to see if I grew any. I wanted them to say, this is at my grandparents' house. They used to put a line on the wall and see how much I would grow. My grandparents, I wanted them to say, and was happy to hear, yep, you grew this much. You grew this much. If I didn't grow, it was a bummer. But regarding growing, modern neuroscience reveals something profound about how lasting change occurs in our brains. Neural pathways that support deep transformation require time to develop and strengthen. Rushing the process actually impedes progress. Patient consistency allows new pathways of thinking and being to become permanently established, like the tree's growth rings. Wisdom develops layer like the tree's growth rings, wisdom develops layer by layer, each experience adding depth and resilience to our understanding. Our spiritual journey is just like the tree's growth. That's why I put accent on experience and learning from the elemental. And I'm sure you've heard the statement, what fires together wires together. I heard that for the first time on a VHS tape I rented from Blockbusters called What the Bleep Do We Know? It is very interesting. It featured a deaf woman who was, that time, also an actor. Tonight I ordered for you The Imitation of Christ. The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. He wrote it in the 15th century. I think you will like it inasmuch as you underscore the word, quote unquote. And Jesus Christ is the living word. It's now 4 a.m. and I have been killing two birds with one stone and burning the candle at both ends as I am making good progress drying plants and creating my Sally Flat masterpiece. Lots of laughs. I glued some of the plants down and put more in the dehydrator. Tomorrow will be an exciting day. Sorrow endures for the night, but joy comes in the morning. 9:44, March 12th. I just woke up from a dream. I was and kept looking at a form shaped like a pine cone. It looked pretty much like a pine cone, but less shaped like a Christmas tree, not pointy. It was Trump, who I call Rump. I was interrogated for my words, and I was telling you, I woke, say there will be time for revisions. That comes from T.S. Eliot. Then that dream brought to mind concepts regarding, number one, the inspired word, number two, the intentional word, and number three, myth comes from the stuff of dreams. And dreams are not intentional. Dreams are inspired. In the MO, modus operandi, you would say several times, in essence, so it follows. Okay, I noticed your mode of operation as you're writing, and you would say, so it follows. Such is when I now say, if the word, aka the God-man, is inspired, and that is the teaching, the doctrine, the word, the written word and the lived word are God. They both are or authoritative and inspired. Then they are not intended. When they are inspired, that doesn't come from intention. That comes from the stuff of dreams and the stuff from the heart. Okay, we have both intentionality and inspiration, but I'm differentiating between the two. Okay? So I'm contrasting the two. Humanity has mind, will, emotion, and I should have said wish, and intentionality. The quintessential human has not only instinct, but has also intentionality. God is, quote unquote, being, not a being, quote unquote. A being would be a form. Even poetry is form. God is no form. Words are masculine and feminine by nature. That is form. God is neither male nor female. A form that is both male and female is a hermaphrodite, a freak of nature. Are we calling God a freak? A freak of nature? Parenthesis. The God who gave us nature, parenthesis. The very nature that reveals God is both intentional and inspired. But as T.S. Eliot wrote, we are not ready for words. And, etc. I think God, okay, this is a T.S. Eliot quote too. I think God is a brown river god. Well, that little thought was inspired by my dream. Just as when I said I have returned 34 pages ago. That was followed by something unintentional. I did not intend to follow it with My Mom's Song by Mary John Wilkins. I intended to say simply, I have returned from the store. Now I mistakenly wrote story. Okay, I wrote story instead of store, but I corrected it and said, now I mistakenly wrote story. See, even now I battle against inspiration and follow the path of intention. What a messy life it is. The word at hand is terrifying. Love, Dad. That concludes number 4.